This video was inspired by my fear of being even more visible and more seen than I am. I've been working on my book for the past 2 years and I'm writing the book proposal for the publisher since February. And every single day of writing ends up with me feeling it's not perfect yet, I'm not ready yet. By me, you know that voice in your head. And it's not an imposter syndrome because I have a strong track record of great achievements. I am competent, I'm confident, and I'm courageous. But at the same time, I feel like I have more to lose because of that track record. That taking the next quantum leap costs me more. So that was a very curious paradox that I decided to research and to find out practical ways that may help me to get through it. So if this is something that resonates with you, let's dive in together. So let's name it. Why courage to be seen might be harder at the top. Here's what almost nobody says out loud about leadership at your level. The higher you climb, the more you have to lose by being visible. It isn't weakness, imposter syndrome. When you were early in your career, visibility was purely upside. Nobody knew you, and being seen was the ultimate opportunity for you. And the cost of misstep was low because your reputation didn't exist yet. Every public move is defined by that capital that you built, and every misstep now is a threat to that capital. So when you consider writing your first book, giving a keynote on the new topic, applying for the new position, you're not just risking the rejection, you're risking the identity that you've been building for years. That is why high achievers and senior leaders sometimes get less visible as they accomplish more. It's not that you lost courage, it's that your stakes became way high and your nervous system is calculating those risks. It's exactly what this system is designed for. So let's get into what actually is happening in your body, because naming it correctly is the first move. In 2003, Naomi Eisenberger and her team published a paper in Science that reshaped our understanding of social pain. They put participants of their study in fMRI machines and introduced them a cyberball game. In that game, participants thought they are playing with other human players by throwing a ball. And at some point, those other players stopped passing them the ball. So the participants in that fMRI machine experienced social exclusion. And what the machine showed is that the same brain parts that are responsible for physical pain were activated when participants experienced social rejection. So when you feel this lack of courage in social situations, it's not any kind of weakness or being dramatic. It's your basic, normal neurosystem reaction to potential social rejection. Now in the second layer, where most leadership advice gets it wrong. The voice in your head that says, "You're not ready yet, who are you to do this?" is not giving you the information about competence. It gives you the information about comparison. There is a famous psychology theory by Higgins, which is called self-discrepancy theory, and I believe this is one of the most powerful theories to explain self-doubt and what you experience as the leader. Higgins' argument is that you do not have one self, you have several selves. So the first self is actual self. This is who you believe you currently are. You also have ideal self, who you hope to become. And the third self is ought self. This is what you believe you should become. Okay, and now interesting things. This gap between your actual self and your ideal self is called dejection. This is the feeling of self-disappointment, sadness, and disillusionment. But the gap between your actual self and ought self produces anxiety. This is where fear lives and where you feel like you don't live up to your standards. So what you as the high achiever, senior leader experience in terms of being seen, it's not the dejection. It's this anxiety between the actual self and old self. So when you're hesitant to apply for a board seat, to publish your controversial point of view or send your book proposal, it's not the conflict between your actual self and ideal self where your potential is. It's the conflict between your actual self and old self. And this old self is a standard created by others. This is an imposed view on you, not yours. So you are comparing yourself not to your ideal self or your potential, but to the image of you in the eyes of others, your parents, mentors, managers, whoever. So the fear is real, the struggle is real, but the standard that produces it is borrowed, it's not yours. Okay, so let's sum it up. Your nervous system and your body is fighting against this basic human reaction to rejection, right? Your mind is running those social comparisons. So what do you do in this situation? And I've been searching for the best solution to my problem as well, and found it in acceptance and commitment therapy. ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, was introduced by Stephen Hayes, and the key insight of it is that trying to eliminate difficult emotions before you act is a trap. Waiting to be ready is exactly how you spend a decade without writing a book or applying for the board seat or taking on a new challenge. ACT's core idea is do what matters in the presence of what hurts. Fear doesn't need to live, it just needs to stop being the decision maker. This also connects to the model I shared with you in one of my previous videos on Productive Challenge. The model is called Biopsychosocial Model of Challenge and Threat, developed by Blaszkowicz and Mendes, and basically tells us that the fear itself is not bad. There are two response options. The first one is the challenge response, when we feel more elevated, aroused to take on a challenge. And the second one is the threat reaction, when we try to protect ourselves and escape the tension. So basically, the fear itself is neutral, right? If you decide to act despite the fear and enter this challenge zone, you can actually achieve great things. So your interpretation is what makes a difference. Because what you care about is bigger than what you're afraid of. Now the practice. 5 practices that helped me personally and may help you. Number 1 is audit the old self. When that voice in your head tells you you're not ready yet, ask that voice, who says that? I literally repeat that to myself. Whose standards is that? Who decides that? Says who? Because I didn't choose that standard. I inherited that from my surroundings, media, family, school. And I'm in charge to choose the standards I live up to. That was empowering. Number 2, separate work from the verdict on you. In my case, the book proposal is either good or it needs improvement. So we are evaluating the document, the output, the results, but not our own self-worth. So your own self-worth is not on the table, and stop putting it on there. And what helped me the most in separating my own self-worth from the work I do, and I'm still struggling with that, honestly, but I'm improving, and it would truly help me when I stop judging the worth of other people by the fruits of their labor, positively or negatively. Like, I separated that completely. And when I stop judging others, I stop judging myself, because this is the same voice in your head. Practice number 3 is values before feelings. Before you want to do any visible thing, ask yourself, what is my value in there? What do I want my leadership to stand for, my personal brand to stand for, my book to stand for? You need to emphasize this value strongly. You can even write down the answer, because the fear as the feeling will still be there, but your value as your standpoint is way steadier than that feeling. And it tells you exactly what to do when that feeling is louder. Okay. Number 4, shrink the exposure window. What it means, basically, don't let yourself wait too long because this social rejection sensitivity is the highest when anticipation is long. The research shows that this alarm, this fear, fires even before the rejection comes real. And number 5, build a regulator. In that Eisenberg study, there was a very interesting finding that those people that had a well-developed regulation mechanism in their prefrontal cortex experience less distress. And those regulation mechanisms may be different. They may be social, so you call your friend before you submit the proposal, email, keynote. Those can be spiritual, you meditate, you write a journal, or those can be physical. Like in my case, I go to the gym, I go cycling. This does not eliminate fear, but it helps fear to stop being in charge. So let's wrap up. The word courage comes from the Latin word cor, which means heart. So basically, it's not about the lack of fear, it's about putting your heart into the act of courage. At your level of achievement or leadership, visibility may be costly. And it's not about the self-doubt or imposter syndrome. Is that you run those calculations, and those calculations tell you that you need to be cautious. But being cautious actually brings us nowhere, because this courage to be visible is also about being visible to yourself. Being visible to yourself means that the biggest rejection that you may receive is you rejecting yourself, your potential, your hopes, and that ideal self that you may one day achieve in your own standards and vision. And I believe that the biggest pain comes from unfulfilled potential that you yourself feel. So if you sit on something right now, like I do in my book, this is the invitation to take on this courage of being visible, and not because it doesn't cost anything, but because not taking this courage, but not being courageous, costs way more. With this being said, I'm starting a series of courageous videos. Next week, we're gonna cover the courage to be disliked. So subscribe, like, comment, and see you next week.